Hey guys, this is Matt Core from ctrl+paint.com, and if you've watched my videos before, you know I love making a new layer group and then putting a mask on that group. It just means that anything I put inside this group is automatically going to paint inside the lines. And when you're working with a character or some sort of shape, this is very useful. Now, if I can assume you are familiar with masks, I can probably also assume there's one sort you've never used. And since you're watching this video on YouTube, I just want to mention before we get started, there are hundreds more free videos just like this one at my website, ctrl+paint.com. So check them out. So this special sort of mask we're talking about today is a vector mask. And it works in very much the same way as a normal mask. You know, it kind of controls the outer border of this group. But what's different about it is that you can't modify it with the paintbrush, but you can modify it with the normal vector tools. So I can change the shape with these handles. You know, you can kind of push things very precisely around. And I would say the main appeal for something like this is a nice precise shape. This car, great example. It's got a combination of hard edges, but also very sweeping curves. So it's something that would actually be kind of hard to paint the selection. The other case where this is really useful is if I want to change the resolution. If right now it's 1800 pixels wide and I want to make it 4000 pixels wide, normally this is going to be a problem because just like your painting, your selections also get kind of fuzzy. But if your selection is derived by a vector, it doesn't matter. This doesn't care what resolution it is. You can see it's just as sharp and just as non-destructive as it was when it was at a low resolution. So all the normal things about masks are still true. In addition, it's a little more precise and it doesn't care what resolution we're at. So this is really powerful. Okay, let's show you how to actually make one of these from scratch. It starts in the paths panel. So what you have to do is you make a new path, which is just a blank gray path layer. And what I want to do here is just to maybe change the color of this wheel. So I'll select the circle tool for this and I'll draw it out. This is where you have to be careful. In the thumbnail for the path, right now it has a sort of gray negative space and a tiny little white dot. This is good. The opposite is also possible, and it's easy to change this setting, which is to make a new path here. And when you draw your circle, you get a white negative space and a gray object. This is actually the inverse of what you want. If I were to turn this into a selection, it would be the entire document except for the wheel. So just know that if you have this largely white path, that's not what you want. You should delete it. And moreover, to avoid making them, make sure when you have the circle tool or the pen tool active, up here in the very top in the properties bar, you change your path operations to combine shapes. This is the one you want, combine shapes. Now when I make a new path and I draw the circle, it's got a gray background. That's good. So I'm gonna use free transform to shift this over here to this original wheel, get it, you know, pretty good in there. Say, okay, I could give it a name, call it wheel. And now with it selected, with it sort of highlighted here, I'll go back to layers. I'll make a new group and I'll say layer, vector mask, current path. That's all there is to it. To really take advantage of what we did here, I'm gonna do a gradient map just to kind of change the color of that rim. And I'll pick, ooh yeah, gold, nice, okay. So anything inside of this group is turning gold. One really nice thing here is because it's a vector, I can select all these points, hold down Alt, and drag a copy. And now I've actually expanded the original path into having sort of a compound path here. It's two different circles, but those are actually both within the vector mask. So all that's to say, if you're working with precise shapes or mechanical curves, vector mask can be really powerful. Especially if you ever need to upscale your image or change the resolution, vector masks are really powerful. Now my guess is you're not using them right now. And I say that confidently because I think I avoided vector masks for 10 years. They just don't seem obvious to a painter. But let me be the first to tell you, they are very useful and they become a lot easier if you're confident with vector in Photoshop. Now, my second guess is that you are not confident with vector in Photoshop. I certainly wasn't until about a year ago. What we are going to do for the entirety of next month is to get serious about vectors in Photoshop. So I'm making a mini series that's free that I'm just going to call Vector Boot Camp, and we are going to get it figured out. So I hope you're up to the challenge and stick around. I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for coming to the site, guys.